Hello, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the Weekend Video Journal. Uh, let's get started. As you can see, the market got off to a very interesting start to 2016. All indexes were down significantly, with the best performer being the S&P 500, which was down 5.9%, and the Russell being the worst at down 7.9%. Coming into the week, this is the week view right here, but coming into the week, we kind of had a sign that this was going to occur. Many are looking at January, the jumper trade, buy the tax, the ones that are losers, and we did see some of that last week, but overall the market was significantly down. And what we saw here coming in on Thursday night, going into New Year's Eve, we had a close below this head and shoulders top neckline. And so it gave you every opportunity to hold short over the holiday, and if you did so, you were rewarded very early Monday morning as that pattern acquired its target here. And then you can see the rest of the week, it basically just created this bearish flag, kind of, or if you want to call this a kind of a head and shoulders, breakdown here, another one with the head, right shoulder, and that too acquired its target. So overall, there was plenty of technicals to kind of keep you on the right side of the trade here, or at least keep you out of harm's way, if you are a long only kind of trader. If we look here at the daily chart, again too, this kind of was pretty obvious here. There's a couple things we can look at here. This looks like a bearish range breakdown to me. So there's a couple ways you can kind of calculate that. You can use the inside closes here, which is really the most conservative target. And if you do that, you have a target of 1934.51, which you can see was acquired on Friday. So taking some profits into the Friday's close is not a horrible idea. If we look here at the stochastics, we can see that the market's blatantly oversold, down well below the oversold level, which is the 20 level. It's possible we can get a little bit lower, but I'd definitely be looking for something, if anything, maybe kind of this, the good old red dog reversal, a move down here, and then a bounce into next week. Inside the internal price action, there's not much to work with from the long side. If anything, we can kind of be looking at this downtrend, and look for some sort of break above that. In particular, if it can take out this 1960s high here, maybe you get kind of a left shoulder, we get a break, Monday, pullback, and then a rally, something like that might occur. But definitely, with the oversold conditions, we want to be on the lookout definitely for a bounce. If we go back to the daily here, it's also possible, that people are looking at this as a kind of a larger range breakdown, using the highs and the lows, and that target would be 1870. So it's also possible we make another move lower before we go, before we bounce. But I do expect a bounce here in the near future. This is OPEX week. Coming up, which has tended to be rather bullish all last year. It was basically buy into the OPEX and almost all, if you go back and look, almost all these these moves higher were into OPEX. So let's see if that trade continues, and with the oversold conditions, it's certainly possible. If we look at the Nasdaq, that had its own bearish kind of head and shoulders pattern coming into the new year, and that acquired its target at 46.40.55 on Friday. It closed just above it, but internally, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we talk about all the time. When the target gets acquired, you can see it basically closed right at the target. So it would not be I will not be shocked to see one of these kind of gap and go ripski hires tomorrow. Nothing. A bounce is definitely coming here in the near term. When and to where, or if there's more downside into it, we don't know that yet. We don't have enough to work with, from a bullish perspective or a bounce perspective yet. But again, watch these trend lines, to see if it can get back above, and particularly if it can take out a swing high, like up in here, maybe get up and fill that gap. We'll see. Looking at the Russell, same thing. on the daily view. This one's actually the worst of all of them. If we look at the weekly, this is kind of testing this long-term trend line here. And it looks like kind of a head and shoulders pattern here. You might find some support here at this swing low. Kind of bounce up in here before the ultimate rollover. But all signs are lower, so strength. At this point, strength should definitely be sold. The Dow Jones Industrial Average. Look at that. Clean this up a little bit here. Same exact thing. That one actually broke its long-term trend line on Friday or last week. So you got the head and shoulders here. Broke trend. So we're looking. Maybe get down in here, find some support, bounce. And then we go down. Ultimately lower. Everywhere you look, it's head and shoulders pattern, head and shoulders pattern. I mean, you look at individual names, you look at different sectors, which we'll get into in a minute. You're seeing this pattern. So I mean, we need to respect it. And either get out of the way or sell into strength. It's very clear that something's going on. So the downside target on most of these things is they're all basically targeting the 2013 breakout level, from a measured move perspective. So if you take the high and the low, they're all basically targeting into these levels, which is also kind of the 38.2 retrace of the 09 bottom to the 15 the May top. So just something to keep in mind. But right now, I mean, I'm 100% a seller of strength. I see no reason to be getting long anything from a long-term perspective, and that's how I'm trading this. Long-term investor-wise, if we look at the S&P 500, we like to watch that 12-month moving average, and we also watch the 10 and 20-month moving 20-month cross. And what we can see here is we're definitely back below the. Sorry, that's the weekly. We're closing back below the 12-month moving average. And the reason I watch that is because we can see that this is how this has really played out. Here, we break below it, retest it, and then ultimately go lower. Same thing here. Break below it, retest it, go lower. So break below it, retest it, go lower here. Sorry for that distraction. So, I mean, all signs are at least, some kind of correction. It doesn't mean we, go straight there. But, I'm certainly at this point a seller of strength. I see no reason to think otherwise. Let's look at some of the sectors. The transport's one we've been talking about in the shows for a while now. It's got this head and shoulders pattern. It's been weak. It's been really relative weakness across the board, and it's basically it has broken below its flash crash low, and the target on this is 104. So there's definitely more downside. It is oversold. So a bounce is very likely, but that bounce should and will be sold. With pretty high level of confidence. If this is going to change directions, guys, we're gonna see something like this. Okay, this somehow gets back up in here, pulls back. This now becomes support, and we go, and then away we go. The more likely scenario, really at this point, this is a big overhead supply pattern now. So you're going to need to beat that. You're going to need some kind of major catalyst like a QE4 or something like that. That would change a lot of things for sure. But basically, you're going to get up in here, and everybody that bought up here is going to be selling. So this is major overhead supply. It's a year and a half worth of overhead supply, and so any bounce is likely to be sold. And the target here again is 104.66. And if we bring that back to if we kind of drill out here, we can see the same thing. It's targeting kind of the 13 breakout levels. Next one I want to look at is the financials, XLF. This one, it's the same thing, same story. Head and shoulders top. Here's your head, your right shoulder, and the target on that is 1834. We drill out and we look at the weekly. again, 1834, 2013 breakout levels. So same thing again. Goldman Sachs, it's an individual symbol. This one I've been screaming and yelling. It's a short for a while. I think I was calling it basically up in here, and I said, your stop's basically 200, and it's basically just been downtrending from there. On the daily basis, again, it's oversold. So, in all likelihood, my plan here is take some off and then look for a bounce into this. I'm trying to get my pen up here. Sorry, guys. What's going on here? Where's my pen? Anyway, well, let me try and use this. We get a bounce up into, maybe back up into this neckline, maybe slightly above, and then a roll back over. And the target on this breakdown is 125.43. When do I change my mind is when I see significant price action that's telling me that we're gonna go back up and make new highs. Maybe this is a left shoulder and this is the head, but again, this is major overhead supply on this one. In a year and a half in the making, or a year or so in the making. So anybody that's long this thing up in this range is now underwater, and therefore any bounces are very likely to be sold. If we go back and look kind of 2008, we kind of saw the same, very similar type of pattern with Goldman. Kind of this head and shoulders kind of topping pattern, and ultimately, boom, lower. So target 125, and nothing's changed from that perspective yet. So that's that. Let's take a quick look at Apple. I know everyone loves this one. Kind of same thing. I was saying I think that this thing could get a potential bounce here. I would like to get my same thing. We have the head and shoulder. Targeting. I think the measured move target is about $70-something. There's quite a bit of support in line on the way down there. So it's a tough one to call, but the technicals will really lead the way. Definitely majorly oversold. So we could get a bounce up into 102 to 104, maybe even 106 up at this neckline. I'd love to see it back up at 106. That would be, just amazing. The risk reward there. Even if you use this high, you'd be risking $3 for about $20 of downside. So I definitely think we see this in the 80s. Sometime more than likely this year, without a doubt. So a bounce. I will definitely be looking to sell this into a bounce. This is all these guys right here are anybody that bought in here is now underwater. So if it gets back up there, what will they be looking to do? More than likely sell. So, technicals, the measured move here is $75. There's a gap fill right in here. Very possible. So, seller strength. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this weekend. Hope it was helpful. Good luck out there, and see you next week.